A couple of thoughts, if you don't mind. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have criticized President Joe Biden for not doing more to help Ukraine, specifically for not sending over the fighter jets that initially Poland said they were going to send. And then Poland said, well, we'll send them to you in your bases in Germany, and then you can send them. And initially, Biden was going to do that, according to the Secretary of State, Tony Blinken. But at the last minute, Biden decided not to do it. And Biden has been criticized by politicians on both sides of the aisle. Let me explain why many presidents, not just Democrats, are reluctant to commit troops to expand our military power around the world. Do you remember a couple of world wars called Afghanistan and Iraq? You know, polls now show both wars are perceived to be bad ideas, not worth fighting, by over 60% of Americans, according to a poll done by the Associated Press last year. Over 60% of Americans believe that the Iraq war was, quote, not worth fighting, and over 60% believe that the Afghanistan war was not worth fighting. And it is not uncommon to hear people refer to Afghanistan and Iraq as huge mistakes that have encouraged our enemies and made our friends less likely to support us because they were tragic mistakes. People that supported them were soon maligned as neocons. I will remind you, even Representative Ron Paul of Texas, famously non-interventionist, supported the Afghanistan war. He didn't support the Iraq war, but he supported the Afghanistan war. Regarding the Iraq war, Senators Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden supported the Iraq war. Even a left-wing columnist for the New York Times named Thomas Friedman supported the Iraq war. And at one time, over 70%, some 76% by one poll, of Americans supported the war in Iraq. Even higher numbers supported the war in Afghanistan. Now, regarding Iraq, Saddam Hussein had the fourth largest standing army, some 900,000 people. We toppled Baghdad in less than 3 weeks with a roughly 160,000 troops, American troops, and also assistance from British troops and others in 3 weeks. By the end of that war, near the end of George W. Bush's term, he was negotiating a stay-behind force. He estimated about 5,000 people should stay behind. Barack Obama ran by calling the Iraq war a dumb war, and against virtually all of his foreign defense, national security staff, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the U.S. Ambassador to Iraq, the CIA Director, the National Security Advisor, all urged Obama not to pull out all the troops. He did anyway, to fulfill a campaign promise. Into that vacuum entered ISIS, just as George W. Bush and Dick Cheney predicted would happen if we pulled out precipitously. And little by little by little, Obama sent back almost about 5,000 troops. Yet he suffered no adverse political consequences by doing it. In fact, he even bragged about his foreign policy by calling it leading from behind. Even the disastrous Biden pullout of Afghanistan is criticized by many people, not because he pulled out, but because of the way he pulled out. President Trump referred to Afghanistan as, quote, an endless war, close quote. President Trump even joined the Democrats in not only criticizing the Iraq war, but saying that George W. Bush lied us into the war. The former Washington, D.C. bureau chief of the Associated Press, named Ron Fournier, publicly said that George W. Bush lied us into the war. So the standard way of viewing the Iraq war is not just that the intel was bad, and it was, but that George W. Bush lied us into the war, or that there's a good possibility that he did. Do you realize, again, how at one time supported broadly both those wars were? And now they're perceived to be colossal mistakes. After the end of the term of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, they pretty much went into the witness protection program, largely because of the unpopularity of the Iraq war. and you're surprised that presidents, including Joe Biden, are reluctant to expand our military presence regarding the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia? Bush lied, people died became a chant that was widely disseminated within the Democratic Party and much of the media. It is a lie. The intelligence was not wrong. There's a Robb-Silberman commission that was set up to determine whether or not the intel leading up to the war had been manipulated or somehow cherry-picked, and they concluded it was not. Yet much of the country, including majorities of Democrats, believe George W. Bush either lied us into the Iraq War or that there's a strong possibility that he did. This is why presidents are reluctant to expand our military might in places like Ukraine.